it should happen. I also want to start by stating that our expectation is that everyone who represents Olympic College upholds our values, not the least of which is civility, and that applies to everyone, including the members of the board. Our responsibility is to the students of this college, and we must treat them with dignity, respect, and support that they deserve, and that goes for all of us, not just the students, but for everyone. President Lucy and the VP of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Dr. Jennifer Wade, shared an email indicating the college will conduct opportunities for structured dialogue. So we'll look forward to that. And in the spirit of openness, we should choose to make this opportunity available to members of our college community to share their comments regarding the events that transpired at our last regular board meeting on May 23rd, and the subsequent resignation of our former board chair. As a reminder, we have a regular board meeting scheduled for next Tuesday, and hopefully you all will be able to attend. I encourage folks who have comments not related to last month's meeting to save them until that time. We would really appreciate that. With that said, we will now open the floor for public comment. Mr. Adam Morris, do you have any comments at this time?
Yes, Vice Chair Bryant. First up on the public comment list, we have Elizabeth Briggs.
We'll see. If you get too close, the angles get weird and it gets really strange.
And thank you for the bread.
Oh, you're welcome. It was very hard. I bought it at the store. Yeah, I don't actually cook except brownies once a month. All right, so I am here on behalf of the Faculty Senate. So we sent you this letter, but we did feel it was important to come today and talk about this. So the Faculty Senate would like to inform you that on February 2nd, we conducted a vote of no confidence in the board chair, Tom Ekman. The vote and call for Mr. Ekman's resignation was unanimous. Even though he has resigned, we felt it was important to inform you of our vote. And our decision was based on the following policies, which Mr. Ekman violated. I'm not going to read all the policies. You can look at them on the college's website, but there were several. So the first one was Olympic College Policy 400-15 about bullying by employees and volunteers. The second was Board Policy 111, which talked about the board's 11 ethical values used to be making decisions, and particularly highlighting 5, 6, and 7, which were about fairness, caring, and respect. And then finally, Policy 100-14, which was commitment to civility and academic freedom. There were several things in there about how to conduct a meeting and different things like that. I have a couple of just highlights I'm going to read out of the letter. This would have been addressed to Mr. Ekman if he was here, and some of these are quotes. So he did not, quote, show concern for the well-being of others, which manifests itself in compassion, kindness, and serving. He was not, and this is another quote from a policy, committed to a climate of civility, mutual respect, and inclusiveness in the boardroom. And he was not an open-minded problem solver who managed conflict proactively and effectively. This was not the first time that he had demonstrated this behavior, and so the Faculty Senate expected his resignation. Now, while now I want to address his resignation letter. Nowhere in his resignation letter did he address these policies or his behavior during this meeting. Our objection was not to the questions that he asked or the process that he felt was not followed, but to how he asked the questions and how he treated the student. While Mr. Ekman is no longer on the board, we expect the Board of Trustees to take steps to prevent this type of behavior in the future. We encourage the board to work together with the Vice President of Equity and Inclusion and the Diversity Advisory Council to develop policies and procedures that ensure that this type of behavior will not go unchecked in future meetings. While we don't expect a response right now, and we understand that it may take time to develop meaningful policies and procedures, we do expect the board to take action. Simply saying we won't let this happen again is not enough. Our trust at this point has been damaged, and it will take time to restore our confidence. So we will be looking forward to future action from the board and the leadership of the college. That's the end of my Faculty Senate one. I do have my own if I still have time. Okay. Now, I did write a personal response to this, and I do want to read this. A lot of this would have been addressed to Mr. Ekman, but I feel like it's important to talk about the situation. So I would like to address the way that Mr. Ekman spoke to the student. You interrupted her presentation, berating her for not answering your questions. Your tone, facial expressions, and body language were aggressive and accusatory. You blamed only her for what was a group decision approved by the SGOC, her supervisor, and the vice president of student services. We are an educational institution. Our sole purpose is to educate people. The mission of the college is, and I quote, to enrich our diverse communities through quality education and support so students achieve their educational goals. This is not just the mission of the faculty, but of all the employees and representatives of the college. You are a representative of the college, one of the most visible representatives with a considerable amount of power and influence. You use that power to attack a student. Earlier in the meeting, you asked a question about accreditation. Instead of berating you or saying you should have already known the answer, multiple people took the time to explain, to educate you. If only you had extended the same courtesy to the student. Now, at the end of the presentation, there were two comments that I want to address. One was, I am just trying to prepare you for the real world. This statement is offensive for several reasons. First, to imply that the college is not the real world is insulting to the many employees who work hard to run a quality educational institution. While an educational institution might be different from a business, it is still real. Second, while it is likely students will experience aggression and harassment when they leave the college, the way that you attempted to teach this student how to handle these situations was wrong. How we teach students is just as important as what we teach them. I would expect some more from someone who had done the adjunct thing. Third, why must we accept that students would be treated this way in, quote, the real world? One of my favorite quotes is from Michelle Obama. You may live in the world as it is, but you can still work to create the world as it should be. So why, instead of berating the student, did you not work to create the world as it should be? A world where people are treated with respect, no matter their age, gender, or position. Now, to the board members and Dr. Cavaluzzi, I'm disappointed that there was no response from anyone during the meeting. And while I understand that there are rules that govern a board meeting, at some point, the people in the room are more important than the protocol. The student was obviously in distress, yet no one did anything. I hope that there will be steps taken to address this. This was not the first time that this had happened, and yet nothing was done. I also take responsibility of myself. I will probably live a long time and still regret how everything happened on that Tuesday, but I do expect more from the leadership of this college. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Next up, we have Derek Kleinrichard. You're good. You're good.
Hello, board, President Cavaluzzi. My name is Derek Kleinrichard. I am the SGOC Director of PR and Communications, but first and foremost, I'm a student. You've probably seen me sitting next to my colleagues and friends, Brett and Rosie, at these board meetings. Sitting there, I had the opportunity to witness treatment that I wish to address today. Now, I could come up here and talk about the clearly misogynistic and ageist tones that Mr. Ekman displayed in our last BOP meeting. However, I'm not my colleague, and I've been privileged to never have to experience misogyny firsthand. So instead, I'd like to address the apparent mistreatment of the employees and RSEs on this campus and in these proceedings. Now, I'd like to start by saying that in no way, shape, or form do I blame any of the board members here today for the actions of Mr. Ekman or the tone and language used in the resignation letter that followed. However, I would like to address the pattern of mistreatment that has gone completely unchecked here at this college. We are students first. It is uncouthly for any member of this college or this board to expect us to be anything less. With that said, I believe that all of us, SGOC and RSCs alike, do our best to bring this college an experience that is to the best of our ability. We are not budget analysts, we are not LAs, and we are not yet professionals in the fields we are choosing to pursue. To expect us or any future RSCs to practice outside of the scope or understanding of our training we have received is unjust and needs to change. I'd like to continue this sentiment by saying that my colleagues at many times have demonstrated practices that are above and beyond the expectations of our roles. Yet instead of these practices being met with understanding or a learning mentality, they are not always, but often met with harsh judgment or unfair critique by the people in positions of higher power. That is not to say that you should not hold us, RSCs, to a higher standard. We are representatives of the students and we are members of this college, but the approach that has been taken to do so is not right and will no longer be tolerated. Now, I'd like to carry on by saying that this mistreatment is not only demonstrated to RSCs, but other employees as well. Earlier this year, the Faculty Senate came to the board in hopes of rectifying issues that they believed to be crucial to their ability to do the work that they so passionately do. Yet instead of understanding or compassion, they were met with the same treatment I have outlined for you today. Mr. Ekman compared the Faculty Senate's concerns to stacking chairs on the Titanic. Now, I find this analogy ironic because the employees of the Titanic continued their duties as the ship was sinking, not because they were instructed to do so, but because they were not allowed in the lifeboats that were meant for higher class passengers. To continue this analogy, the employees of this college are being left behind. However, this is not a literal sinking ship. Soon you're going to find that instead of stacking chairs, they'll be packing up and leaving. The culture and attitude brought towards your constituents needs to change. The mindset and lack of understanding needs to change. We are not only RSEs, students, employees, parents, partners, or otherwise. We are people and we deserve to be treated as such. I hope members of this board and employees of higher education continue to pursue the efforts necessary to change this culture. It doesn't start with the people asking for change. It starts with the people who are willing to answer. And I hope you are willing to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Next, we have Val Torrens.
Okay. I was asked if I could help out Elizabeth Briggs. Are you still wanting to add more to your comments? Otherwise, I will say something.
I think her microphone may be having issues.
Okay.
We can hear you, Val.
Well, okay. So I will just share my thoughts on this whole issue. Was not at the meeting, so I'll tell you that right now. I heard a whole lot about that, and I was not happy at all. I've been a school board director where we have spent far more time listening to public comments than the times I've been with this board over the last several years. And our meetings might start at 5 o'clock at night and end at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, because that's what it sometimes takes, is to listen to the people who are coming to you to discuss their issues. I have been appalled by the fact that the unions, both of them, have come and said, we want to sit down and talk with you about the issues that concern us, and there's never been a response. That's not the way to run the railroad. I'm sorry. And I just feel very strongly that if you want everybody to work together and move forward, then you really do need to work with them, not this separation of the board and then everybody else, which was what was intimated in that letter of resignation by the former president. To say that the Board of Trustees is not, a part of the college, I don't know, maybe that's not what he meant, but the way that comes across to me is really says volumes about the relationship that he saw between him and what's going on in the college. They need to be intertwined. They need to work together. That's the whole point. I was just absolutely appalled. And I came tonight to help out another board member another faculty member who doesn't seem to need it, but that's okay. I'm saying what I'm saying. And I appreciate the fact that the board made the statement it did at the beginning of the meeting, but I think there needs to be some wholesale changes in how these meetings are run. There should be some way for people to get a response to the things that they say without having to always ask for it, and just having your time end, and that's it. And it's once more we go back into the vast mass of who's on the Zoom or who's in the room. I'm sorry, that just doesn't make sense. So it should be a two-way conversation. If you don't understand something, ask. And there should be a response, not silence. That's the part that has always baffled me. So I hope that this becomes a lesson that the board will learn from and move forward. the people who do the work at OC do it because they love working for what the campus is about, what the school is about. And to be treated as if they didn't have a place at the table makes no sense to me. And it's not right. So thank you for the opportunity to speak my mind.
Next up, we have Barbara Parker.
She moved it.
So I'm not gonna say a whole lot about what happened. You've obviously got the message. A lot of us were here signing up to support Elizabeth in case she ran out of time, which she sometimes does. But I do want to echo one thing that she said, and that's the responsibility that those of us in the audience felt, because I agree with Elizabeth. I feel like I have post-traumatic stress because I didn't get up and say. And that's what's really sad. We expected someone else to say something, and we can't always do that. I give my students a cultural competence quiz that they can take to find out about their cultural competence. And one of the questions that almost everybody rates themselves very low on is, do you stand up for other people when they're being bullied or being picked on, or whatever the case may be? And I felt like I would have to go back and rate myself very low as well. One of my students gave a presentation in Hawaii. Apparently there's a law, which nobody follows, but it is a law that you have to be kind. And I think that we have to remember that as well. I want to thank Harriet for coming to our award ceremony, and Frankie was at our tenure meeting, and we always like to see the board involved. I hope you all had an opportunity to go to the spring opera, because if you didn't, you missed the most delightful evening ever. They did fairy tales. I went to the opera last year. They give you a little synopsis. I had no clue what they were doing in the little synopsis. However, they did fairy tales. So they did Little Red Riding Hood, and they did Hansel and Gretel. And it was just delightful, and it was a good partnership because Peterbilt did the media, and he had these skulls dancing across this board. But anyway, if you have opportunity, they're doing a musical next year. So I hope that everybody takes this opportunity to change and learn to be kind and start to listen more, and that we can open up a dialogue. It was fun sitting down with Frankie and just having a conversation, which was over food that maybe you didn't say, but yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Next up, we have Mr. Craig Goodman.
I'll just stand here. Oh, I don't have my glasses. You're all fuzzy. I'm so sorry. Wait, I can't. Anyways, so I'm going to switch gears and save my budget comments for next week. And first, I do want to thank you all. It's a volunteer position that you're all doing, and you have been charged with some difficult tasks. And I don't think we often get to say thank you for your service. And I think that's really important. And I always look at an opportunity out of conflict that has occurred here. And I'm hoping that we can find an opportunity here to maybe reshift our relationship. So let's see, with the faculty employee groups, and I feel that the board members should engage more with employees beyond this highly structured board meeting that we have, because I think it could change the course of the college if you were there to help us. And the goal is not to have an adversarial role. And we just want to establish that. Yes, we may have difference of opinions, and yes, we may have some conflicting ideas, but we're in education and we're in higher education, and we embrace that. And I don't think that ever gets communicated, particularly when you have these very structured things. If you contact prior board members and how our boards used to operate, with faculty participation, classified staffing participation, and employees actually sitting at the table, we just had different relationships. We had board members coming into classrooms all the time. I had several board members coming to my English 91 classes and just having a great time seeing that student or my students like growing and participating. I really want to encourage that again. Like, I haven't been talking to you all because I felt like it wasn't a good structure and it wasn't conducive to a good relationship. Sometimes you just gotta cut bait, right? So here's an opportunity. I hope that you'll take it. I know the state board trains you well not to talk to employees. You certainly can talk to us, and we don't have to bargain. We don't have to do business. We can talk about opera. We can talk about whatever awards. That's awesome. But reach out to us. You're always invited to our classrooms. Just let us know, and we'd love to see you more on campus and maybe restart a relationship. I think there's an opportunity. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Craig.
All right.
I agree.
Yeah, great, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, next,
Next week I am gonna grow young budget.
up next, we have, Ms. Linnea.
So I'm gonna just read a letter that you've all received that we wanted to make sure was on the records. Mr. Ekman, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Cavallucci. We are writing to address the interaction between Mr. Ekman and the Director of Finance and Operations of Student Government of Olympic College at the May Board of Trustees meeting. During SGOC's budget presentation to the board, Mr. Ekman interrupted, took an antagonistic line of questioning and berated the student. Mr. Ekman had a tone of voice that can only be described as condescending and shady. Moreover, he exhibited aggressive body language, repeatedly wagging his finger as if scolding. Many of Mr. Ekman's comments to the students included accusatory phrases such, "Do you realize what you have done?" Others' comments implied that the student was solely accountable for what Mr. Ekman perceived to be an irresponsible budget. He reproached the student for presenting an unsustainable spend down plan, which showed a fundamental misunderstanding of what a spend down plan is. The spend down plan had been recommended by the board because of the size of the reserve. In addition, his questions were answered during the thorough, sensible, financially transparent slideshow. During one of Mr. Ekman's interruptions, the student held up her hand and said, "Please let me finish." The student's distress was obvious to the audience. During this entire interaction, every board member and the president remained silent. Eventually, Vice President Taga interceded and repeated what the student had already explained. At this point, the tone of Mr. Ekman's response and demeanor completely changed. Following the student's presentation, Mr. Ekman was cordial and congratulatory to other presenters, cracking jokes and often offering pleasantries. While the student was visibly upset, Mr. Ekman said he hoped she felt he wasn't too hard on her and that he was just preparing her for the real world. This slight acknowledgement of his behavior appeared to audience members as a rationalization of his bullying. This latest incident continues an offensive pattern of belittling, dismissing, interrupting, and rebuking presenters. Most concerningly, this behavior seems often directed towards women. While we have observed this behavior in the past, they are obligated to come forward now because Mr. Ekman targeted a student. That's where it hits us hard. These are our expectations. An acknowledgement of the harm Mr. Ekman caused to the reputation of Olympic College as a safe place for students and an institution with equity at the center of all that we do. Mr. Ekman's removal as the chair of the Board of Trustees, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and bystander intervention training for the president of the college, the executive team, all who were present at the meeting, the Board of Trustees review and apply the mission, vision, and values of the college as representatives of the college. And based on the mission, vision, and values, the Board of Trustees create written protocols guiding board member behavior at future meetings in order to prevent uncivil behavior. Sincerely, Sarah Adams Nolan, Elizabeth Briggs, Christina Camarina, Amy Herman, Renee Hess, Angela Cradiker, Candace Moreau, Heather Newcomer, and Margaret Parker.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynette.
Ms. Larry Blaine in attendance? I believe I see Larry online. He did sign up for public comment. We did mention that he would be late, so I put him at the end. Unless there's any public comment remaining, that concludes our public comment for this evening.
Anything from the board of trustees would like to share?
I'd like to share a couple of thoughts. First of all, I appreciate everybody's public comments. I think that all of us, in hindsight, should have done more. I acknowledge that. There was things done after the board meeting that maybe the public did not see. I know that multiple phone calls were made. People reached out. It's a hard balance sometimes to balance what you have to do as a board and what you have to do as a person. I wish those two would mesh a little more. I do not share the same sentiments that Mr. Ekman shared in his letter on a number of issues. I think too, differences of opinion that Craig mentioned earlier are good things. It makes you have dialogue. It makes you work together to find solutions, and hopefully moving forward, that's what we can do. I also understand the importance of trustees coming to the classroom, being more involved. I will try and commit to do more of that. I have a terribly busy work schedule, and I have not been able to do that. It's been one of my personal frustrations on this board, which I've talked to Marty about numerous times, as well as the other board members, because I don't feel sometimes that I'm giving it all because of my other obligations. So I will try and make more time, because I do think it's important. I do enjoy spending time with faculty. I enjoyed Elizabeth very much when I went to the basketball games with her. I do like to have conversations that don't include the roles and just getting to know people. I think that is really important. For those of you who don't know, my real job is in social services. I work a lot with child welfare. It's my background. I work with people when they're at their worst, trying to help them find solutions to better themselves and their families. I'm willing to do any training on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm a woman of color. I was offended about what happened at the board meeting. That's all I have right now.
Yeah, I want to say, my name is Trustee Coleman. I did have an opportunity to meet a couple of people here. I think Elizabeth Briggs, enjoyed conversation with her, and I think I've been here now by maybe 2 years, and it's the first time we've had a conversation, enjoyed that. Also with Barbara, always enjoyed that. We had good food, of course, and that helped. And but I concur with Trustee Bryan and just Trustee Miller. I came on to, I'm a pastor in this area in West Bremerton. Of course, my thing is developing relationships. And I became a part of the trustee board to drive the inclusive, being fair, caring, respect, all of those attributes. I think that's something that we should set as a high goal and a model for Olympic College. And I want to say, and I apologize to all of you that were here, and Rosie, back, of course, at our meeting, our last trustee meeting. Of course, that didn't go well, but I think there's several things we can learn. I think those items were listed, and we can learn from that, and we can use this as an opportunity to be able to use that as a stepping stone and grow from it and build relationships so we can be the college that, of course, all of us want. I hope all of us want that. And so And sorry that that happened, but here we are. Where do we go from here? So hopefully we learn something from it and go forward. That's all I have, trustee.
And again, I agree with both trustee Miller and trustee Coleman. We're so sorry. That should not have happened. That's not how we do business. That's not how we build relationships. We really should have done more. And, and I'm sorry that we didn't. We should have stopped the meeting. We should have adjourned. We should have made sure that Rosie was okay. And I think we were all in shock from the rest of the meeting. Everyone was in shock, and we feel bad. And just like Barbara said, I felt like I could have done better. Trustee Miller did go over and attempt to console her. And I think we should have just stopped the meeting. And we realize that this is not the first time. We have went to the state board. We talked to several people. And so, like Trustee Coleman said, we're here now, so let's do better. We can do better. We can go to the classrooms. We can talk. We can, Marty he's a wonderful president, and all we got to do is let him know that we're coming to this. It's just that we don't want to cross that line as board members and into the college, because that's not our role. Our role is to support him. But I'm sure that he does not have a problem with us coming to visit you guys and talk with you guys. I mean, a lot of us talk. I've been on Barbara for many, many, many years, and she's a wonderful person. I see a lot of familiar faces. I enjoy the graduation. And like I said this morning, I think we got the best college ever. I'm going to always say it. It's not going to change because it is the truth. And we can do better. And I hope that we as a board of trustees, we can build those relationships that are needed to get past this and to do better and continue the great work that you all are doing to support all of our students. And Rosie, again, we thoroughly apologize to you, really. And to your whole team. You guys did an excellent job. And I just feel like we could have done better. And next time we will. Is there anything else for the good of the order? If anyone would like to?
I'd like to thank Heather and Elizabeth for bringing
Yes.
food. We appreciate it.
Marty, do you have anything?
Thank you.
Well, with that, let's get on with our graduation. That's what's up next. So hopefully we'll see all of you at the graduation. All right, thank you guys. Again, we're so sorry. It should not happen, and it won't happen again. Here we say that.
All right.
Meeting adjourned.
Oh, okay, I don't have that, but the meeting's adjourned.
That concludes this evening's special board meeting. Thank you all for attending.
Have my watch, like,